Hi everyone, this is Ashley with Marshflower Studio. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make these cute, simple bats. All right, so this one is made out of the velvet yarn using a 7mm hook. And then I have a worsted weight yarn made with a 4mm hook. So you can kind of scale them a little bit just with your yarn and hook size, but it's the exact same stitch count for both of these guys. And it's pretty simple. So we'll get started. I'll leave this guy sitting right there. All right, so I've got what's left of my black. I go through lots of black and lots of white. We'll start with our magic circle and 6 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'll pull this tight. Whoops. And we'll do 6 increases. It's just one of those mornings. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. All right, then we're gonna have our next increase row. So we're gonna have an increase and a single crochet. So that'll take us out to 18 stitches total. So there's 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 5 and 6, 7 and 8, and then 9, 10 and 11, 12, 13 and 14, and then 15, 16, 17, and 18. For our next row, we're going to have an increase and 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22, and then 23, 24. All right, so now we're going to do another increase row. So I'm going to have 3 single crochets and then an increase. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. All right, so for our next row, we're going to have 4 single crochets and an increase. And I like to kind of split where my increases are so they don't start just stacking up on top of themselves. So I'm going to grab a stitch marker. I'm going to do the first 2 for this round. I use these large hairpins. Slide on super easy. It's not just going to fall off like some of the other ones will if you don't clip them, and the clips are just kind of aggravating to me. So I've got the first 2, and then I'll do my increase, and the last 2 from this first set of 4 will go at the end. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase. And then here's 3 and 4 from those first 2. Okay, our next row is going to be 5 single crochets and then our increase. And I'm going to leave my stitch marker where it is because I can just crochet around it, but that'll help me kind of keep up where the start of my rows are. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and increase. All right, so that is the end of making the bottom increase part of our bat. So now we're going to make 4 rows of single crochet. So I'm doing my first 2. I'm going to move my stitch marker so that I don't have to just count the rows or count every stitch for the rows. I can just keep up with where my starting point is and make sure that I do 4 full rows. And for those that have been watching some of my other videos and made comments about the smoke alarm, I finally had someone taller than me replace the battery, so no more beeping. I'm like 5'2", and with a house that has tall ceilings, it's not exactly the easiest for me to get to those suckers sometimes. Sometimes working with this black yarn, it can be a little hard to see where some of your stitches are. So when you're going kind of fast, it's really easy to drop loops or skip stitches if you're not careful. But when you've been doing it for 30 years-ish, it's kind of muscle memory at this point. Alright, so I've got 2 rows done. This is my 3rd row. I hear my tiny tornadoes in the other room playing. I'm sure when I go check on them in a few minutes, most all of the couch cushions will be on the floor because that's like their favorite game. All right, so it's 3 rows. 1 more row of just single crochet here. Make sure you check out some of the other videos that have already been posted. There are lots and lots and lots of cute little projects. Most of them take between 30 minutes to an hour at the most, and they're pretty basic as long as you know how to do basic crochet. There's not any crazy texture patterns or anything like that. All right, so that's the end of my 4 rows of single crochet. Okay. Our next row is going to be 5 single crochets and then a decrease. And let's see, I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there are different ways you can do a decrease. I've had a couple people ask because the way that they saw me doing a decrease is not the way that they typically do it. So I'll do this first one slow. And I know it's kind of hard to see. Let me turn on a different light here. We'll zoom in a little bit. See if that kind of helps. All right, so I go under the front loop only of that next stitch over, and then under the front loop of the stitch next to it. So I've got 3 loops on my hook, technically. Okay, so I'm going to grab some yarn and pull through both of those front loop pieces so that I have 2 loops. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of those like it's a regular single crochet. All right. I'll do another one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to go under the front loop of the next stitch, and then I'm going to wiggle my hook around and go under the front loop of the next stitch. I'll yarn over and pull through both of those, and then it's like I'm doing a regular single crochet. So I'm going to grab some yarn over and pull through both of the ones that are on there. As long as you're doing a decrease, it doesn't really matter which method you choose. Okay, I used to do all kinds of crazy things when trying to decrease, and I found that this method works best for the way that I crochet, for the tension that I have and the hook sizes that I use with my yarn. If you have another way that works good for you, then just do that. All right, so we'll keep going here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and another decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's our decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease. All right, so our next row is just going to be single crochets all the way around. So I did my first 2, and I'm going to move my stitch marker up to just kind of keep it a little closer so I know where the start and stop of my rows are. All right, so for our next row, we're going to have 4 single crochets and a decrease. And again, I am going to split one of those groups of 4 so that my decreases are not kind of stacking up on top of each other. So I'm going to do the first 2 and then go ahead and do my decrease, and then do 1, 2, 3, 4, decrease, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. I'll keep splitting my yarn. 3, 4. Do a decrease, and then our last 2 stitches there. All right, so we're gonna do another round of just single crochet. We're getting close to being done with this part of our bat. All right, so we're gonna do 3 single crochets and then decrease. There's 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, and decrease. 1, 2, 3, and decrease. 1, 2, 3, and decrease. Right? So now we're going to do one more row of just single crochet all the way around. All right, so take my stitch marker out. I don't need it at this point. And we're going to create the first ear. All right, so we're gonna need 2 stitch markers, and our ears take 7 single crochets. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I don't want this row to start where I have to jump across. Okay, so for the front part here, See, my last stitch is in this hole. So I'm actually going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to put my stitch marker in 5 because I know that I need to stop before I get there. All right, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches here. And then on the back, I'm going to have 3. So this is my current stitch. So 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to put my other stitch marker in 4 so that I know not to go there. Okay. So I'm going to crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to pinch these together and jump across to that next unmarked stitch. So then we have 5, 6, and 7. All right. So then we're going to have 2 rows of single crochet, or 14 single crochets total. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And then I'll do a little slip stitch just to kind of end that row. We're going to cut and pull our yarn through, and then we're going to sew the top of this ear closed. So we're going to go from the next stitch over under the front loop only from the outside to the inside. And we're going to do that for each one of these stitches on this last row. All right, so when you get to the first one, we're just going to pull that tight, and then I like to stick that tail right down through the middle, so it gives it a nice clean finish here. So that ear is done. All right. And actually, I'm going to take the starting tail and just tie a little knot in here with these 2 pieces, just to kind of help make sure they don't come undone, you know, as this thing gets played with and tossed around and packed away and brought back out again. So for my next ear, well, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I gotta put my eyes on before this hole gets any smaller. And I'm going to be using some colored eyes for this bat. So I've got some nice yellow eyes here. And you can kind of just decide where you think they look best. Okay, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to put mine between 12 and 13. And then let's see, 1, 2, 3, oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So I'll have mine 5 stitches apart for this guy. Yeah. So we'll pop the backs on these. And we're going to put a little bit of stuffing down in there. You want to make sure that he's going to keep his shape, but you don't want to stuff him so full that you can start to see the white of the stuffing through the holes. All right. So I'm going to stuff him a little bit more in just a second. But first, I'm going to make a slip knot. And then in the next stitch that hasn't been worked up top here next to this ear is where I'm going to attach this piece. Okay. So I'm going to pull a loop up and do a little single crochet there. And I need to decide where my other ear is going, right? Because we have to mark that so that when we crochet over to it, we don't accidentally kind of mess it up. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to put a stitch marker in the 5th stitch from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to have 7 to make the actual ear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So then my other marker will go here. So what I'm going to do is crochet through both sides. And actually, I'm going to go through the same spot where I just started this and go over to the other side so that I'm going through both layers. All right. I'm going to pull a loop through and do a single crochet. Go to the next 2. Do the same thing. And you could do slip stitches here if you prefer. And then our last 2. All right. So now I know where my ear is, so I can take those pins out so they're out of the way. And then we're going to do the same thing as we did for the other one. We're going to do essentially 3 rows of 7. And I'm actually going to put some more stuffing in here before I start working on this other ear. So I want to make sure there's stuffing up inside the ears. So I'm going to kind of smush some of that over to that side and get some stuffing up inside his ear. And I'll push some more down in. Especially with working with the black yarn or any dark color, depending on the kind of stuffing that you use, you may have lots of this little like white, it's almost like dandruffy stuff, right? Kind of come off on your yarn. but I have found that a stiff bristled paintbrush actually brushes that away pretty easy, and it doesn't mess up the yarn like, you know, the carding combs will. So you don't want to get a paintbrush that's too crazy stiff, but just one for like acrylic paints should work. Just kind of brush it off a little bit. And I'll get rid of most, if not all, of that extra fuzz. All right. So he's back to being a little bit more poofy in his body. So I'll do my 3 rows of 7 for this other ear. Before I sew up his other ear, I will add a little bit more stuffing to it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we'll jump across. Oh, coming from this way. So 2 more rows of 7, or just count 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, oops, not 15. So I'll do my slip stitch to kind of finish off this. We'll cut our yarn. And get a little bit more stuffing so that this ear has some stuffing up in it too. I'll use my handy little stick that they provide in lots of the stuffing bags. Then we'll sew this ear up the same way we did the first one. From the outside towards the inside under the front loop only. For each stitch around. Pull that tight. And then I'm going to go with this one. Got a little bit of a space back here where my stuffing is showing through, so I'm actually going to use this yarn to kind of pull that closed. And then I will exit over here by the starter tail so that I can make my little square knot, and then we'll stick both of these pieces down through our bat. All right. All right. So now we have our wings. And the wings are pretty simple. I've seen a couple other similar versions that make it a little hard, but I felt like this version was something that a beginner could still definitely do and not get super confused on some of the different explanations for where stuff's supposed to go. So we're going to do our magic circle with 6. Our increase row, our 6 increases, we're going to have our single crochet and increase row, the 2 singles and an increase, the 3 singles and an increase, the 4 singles and an increase, the 5 singles and an increase, and then we'll fold it in half. Okay, so you're just making a big circle, and then we're going to fold it in half, and we will slip stitch the 2 halves together along the edge to create our little wing shape. And all I did for these, like I slip stitched, I decided where I wanted to put like a little, I don't know what you call them in bats off the top of my head, but they have little parts of their wings that kind of come out in points. So I wanted to kind of do a little bit of that. So this is just like a chain 3, and then I went back in the same stitch and did a slip stitch to attach it back, and then continued slip stitching across. So you can put as many of these little things as you want. Just do a chain 3, attach it back down, and keep on going. So I'll do one on the video here, and then hopefully you guys will be able to do the other one, or just watch this part again. For the second one. So our 6 increases, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, oops, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. All right, then our 18 row, so there's 1 and 2, and then 3, 4 and 5, and then 6, 7 and 8, 9, 10 and 11, and then 12, 13 and 14, and 15, 16, 17, 18, and then our 2 singles and an increase. So here's my increase, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. All right, so our 3 singles and an increase. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. All right. So again, on our fourth row, I think for this row, I'm not going to kind of alternate where I have my stitches or where I have my increases, just because having those kind of points naturally line up in the circle is going to be fine for our bat wing. I am still going to use a stitch marker so that I don't have to count this. So there's 1 and 2, 3, 4, increase, 1, 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 2. All right, now we're going to have our last increase row. So we'll have 5 single crochets and an increase. All right. So we have all 5 done, and pop our little stitch marker out. I'm going to do a slip stitch just so that there's not quite such a huge difference in the height here. And then I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm going to line up where those little points are from where we did our increases on top of each other. And I'm going to go right through both layers, just doing the slip stitches. And yours may be a little different. You know, depending on yarn, tension, hook size, all that good stuff. So I'm at one of the corner pieces here, so I'm going to do a chain 3. I'm actually going to slip stitch into this first chain as well, and then I'll slip stitch back into that same hole. So I've got my little point thing there, and then I'll continue to slip stitch across. So here's where my other increases are, so I'll do the same thing. Do 3. I'm going to slip stitch into this first chain, and I'll slip stitch back into that same spot. And then we'll slip stitch to the end, and I'm going to do another one of these little picot stitches, I guess, on this end. Alright, so here's 1, 2, 3. We'll do a slip stitch into this last little hole down here. So you want to cut enough yarn to sew it to the back of your bat. So what I will end up doing is sewing a knot here and then pulling my longer thread back through the top of this wing so that I can use it to sew the wing to the back of my bat. And whichever direction you want to sew it in is completely up to you. You can have them be straight out, you can have them angled down, you can have them angled up to you. But when you're done, you'll have a cute little bat that you can hang around or just have kind of sitting out with your pumpkins for your decoration. Right, so if you like the little bat, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. That way you could see all the new videos as they get posted. Make sure you go back and check out some of the other videos that have been posted previously. There's lots and lots of cool things in there to make. Most of them are pretty easy, not very time consuming, and there's some really fun things that you can kind of customize and make more specific for somebody if you have in mind. But thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.